It is possible that ASUS sent me too much stuff. Oh, hi everyone. So when I was at Computex this year, back in June, ASUS was showing off their ROG Edition 20 gear, their 20th anniversary ROG celebration with this isn't even all the stuff I have here, but it's obviously way too much for me to even fit on my table. So ASUS hit me up and they're like, Paul, we want to send you the ROG 20th anniversary stuff. And I said, okay, which ones? And they were like, all of it. And my response was, that sounds really cool. You guys put a lot of work into this hardware. Obviously, we're in a difficult time in terms of PC building right now. I would not feel comfortable covering this stuff unless I was also giving it away. So that's the plan. I'm gonna do a build with this hardware, then we're gonna give it away to help support our Extra Life charity live stream, which has a summer installment coming on August 22nd, that's Saturday, so mark your calendars. But I still feel like there's just too much stuff for me to cover in one video, so this video is going to be unboxing most of this hardware that you see and giving you a little bit more details on the special features that ASUS has integrated into each one to celebrate the 20th anniversary of their ROG lineup. And then we're gonna have a second video, which should be up in the next day or two, focusing on the build process of assembling pretty much the fastest possible PC you can build right now using all of this ROG 20th Anniversary Edition hardware.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the Paul's Hardware store on paulshardware.net, the only official source for Paul's Hardware merchandise, tantalizing t-shirts, brilliant beer sets, high-quality hoodies, and more, all featuring the classic thumbscrew for tasteful and refined viewers, or the 8-bit thumbscrew for tasteful and refined viewers who hate curves. New designs are added sporadically and at random, so head over to paulshardware.net and get some of that sweet, sweet merch right now. Or not right now, after you watch the video. Either way. So starting off with the parts list here so you guys know what we're working with today. On the left side are the build components, and on the right side is everything else, which includes like router, mouse, and keyboard. But perhaps the most drool-worthy piece of equipment in this lineup is the ROG Astral Edition 20 RTX 5090. RTX 5090s have gone up in price a little bit since they originally launched, so this one, being a special edition, is probably going to be even more valuable, and it has a wraparound OLED screen as well. Just below that we have the 20th anniversary edition of the ROG Thor 3000 watt titanium 3 power supply. 3000 watts is of course a bit more than you can typically pull from a wall socket in the US, so if you install this power supply or you use it, you probably want to upgrade your home power. You will need a 220 volt circuit in the US, but you can still run this on a standard US outlet. You're just not going to get all 3000 watts. It's going to be limited to more like about 1800, and even in that case you'll still be able to take advantage of the titanium class efficiency. ASUS came out with a couple cases for this 20th anniversary lineup. We're building in the ROG GR20, which is more of an open frame case design. This one kind of looks like a big old motherboard tray, but it has a few different configurations you can put it in. You can have that motherboard tray be vertical, you can angle it, or you can also run it in test bench mode, which has more of a horizontal layout. Our final component here is a bit of a two-in-one affair. The ROG CROSSHAIR X870E Edition 20 includes that X870E AM5 motherboard, which is grossly overbuilt, but you also might notice this is a fairly large box for just a motherboard. That's because it includes an AIO as well. A 360mm ASUS Ryujin AIO with 20th anniversary trim is included in this box, and that also means it has a matching wraparound OLED screen similar to the RTX 5090. That wraps it up for the components we're going to be using in the build, so before I move on to this stack, I want to say a big thank you to Kingston for sending over two vitally needed elements for this build. We have a 2TB SSD, the Kingston Fury Renegade G5, and then of course we need some DDR5 memory that is represented by our Kingston Fury kit, and that is a 32GB 2x16GB DDR5 6800 speed kit with a nice low profile black trim that's going to blend in very nicely with the rest of the components in this build. So a big thank you to Kingston for their support with this build and giveaway as well. Over here we have some peripherals and accessories. Just to quickly rattle them off, we have the ROG Harpe 2 Extreme. I'm not sure if you're supposed to pronounce the E. Is it Harpe or Harp? Yeah, Harpe. Perhaps just want to roll the R a little bit. But this is a mouse, a gaming mouse. It has an interestingly shaped box, and it is wireless, which matches with the keyboard that's included, the ROG Azoth Extreme Edition 20. This is a 75% wireless mechanical gaming keyboard. I was able to try this out briefly at Computex as well. It has a really nice feel. I'm not sure if you guys collect ASUS action figures, but we have the ROG Saga Omni right here, an action figure, which seems to be some form of humanoid. It includes a gas mask, it includes a skateboard. You've even got a little mini ASUS ROG Ally right there. So I'm gonna leave this in the box for collector purposes for the eventual winner. But there's a quick look at the front and back, and a nice little bit of added character, I'd say, for this lineup from ASUS, kind of unexpected. This is the ROG KeyCap mystery box. I can only assume that the mystery of what is inside is that it's keycaps. Ah yes, further demystifying the mystery is some examples of other keycaps they've had in the past. The special edition has a outline with a question mark, and that is why it is a mystery. And the last two items are, first, a router, a Wi-Fi 7 capable router, the ROG Rapture GT-BE98 Pro Edition 20. This one also has an aesthetic that matches the rest of the components. Pretty cool. One of those like upside down spider designs, as I call them, from ASUS because of all the different antenna. I don't know too much else about the details for this router, but it says dual 6 gigahertz band speed up to 30,000 megabits per second. So 30 gigabytes per second wireless capabilities on this router. And then last but certainly not least is the monitor. This is the ROG Swift OLED PG27AQWP-G. So this one of course has aesthetic design to match the Edition 20 hardware with the primarily black and gold finish. And it is a 2560 by 1440 display. And before you're like, oh what, not 4K? It's 540 Hertz 1440 display, and it's also dual mode, which you can physically switch with that button right there. You can also go up to 720 Hertz at 1080. Let's start off by taking a closer look at peripherals, and since this is the biggest mystery of the items I showed you so far, I'm going to start here. So each mystery box contains a limited edition keycap set inspired by some of the most iconic ROG products. Every box holds one random design, making each unboxing a moment of pure discovery. And with apologies to the winner of the eventual giveaway, we're going to open this right now and see what's inside, because obviously this is something you'd want to share with the fans in the community, right? Ah, I see. So there are 6 individual boxes inside. It's like nested keycap boxes. That's so cute. All right, maybe let's. All right, so let's open 3. We'll open 3, and then we'll leave 3 more for the winner to open. Ooh, that's a fancy keycap. Dropped it. Oh, that's actually pretty cool there. The ROG logo nestled amidst some form of crystal, some crystal protrusions. 2 more. This one is quite tall. Try not to drop it this time. All right, so that's the ASUS ROG gamepad, also nestled amongst some crystal protrusions to make it look more badass. And this one I've been wanting for some time, which is a keycap with a chair on top. All right, so that's the ASUS Chariot gaming chair, and look, it spins around. It spins. Look at him spinning. All right, that's pretty cool. So there's a look at 3 of the custom keycaps that came in the mystery box set, and we're gonna leave 3 more for the eventual winner of the giveaway. Oh, and each keycap also comes with a little card with some more information about the item that is on the keycap. Those keycaps will go very nice with this keyboard, the Azoth Extreme Edition 20. Whoa. Oh my gosh, this is a heavy, for such a small keyboard, this is very heavy. Just the accessories for this keyboard are bonkers. You get a little welcome note there. You have this, which is just gold. Is this solid gold, ASUS? It's got protective plastic over it, which I feel like I should leave on. It does open up so you can see how shiny the gold is. Warning, once ROG, forever ROG. Oh, it's got more plastic on there. All right, there's the true bling. Keep that covered up. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I found the manual. It is a nameplate with a magnetic card brick. So I believe it's just for bragging rights. Magnetic feet. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, so we also have these magnetic feet you can attach to the bottom of the keyboard to give it a little bit more lift. Plastic one right here is to pull off keycaps so you can replace them, and then this is to pull the switches out, because the switches of course are also replaceable on this keyboard, although why would you do that when ASUS has already included really nice switches, I assume. And those switches are ASUS ROG NX switches, and they've even included a few replacements in the box. We've also got this guy, which is labeled as a polling rate booster, which means if you connect with this rather than via Bluetooth, you're going to get a higher polling rate. I thought this was interesting. It has a little clip on it, so I think you clip that to your mouse mat and then route the cable through that so that you have easy access to a cable, or if you are using it in wired mode, you won't have as much drag from the cable if you can clip that wherever you want it to be. We have a braided USB-C cable, as well as the fanciest wrist pad that perhaps you will ever see as well, which has gold trim all along the edges and some rubber contact pads on the bottom to help keep your keyboard nice and steady. This thing also has some weight to it, but not nearly as much weight as the ROG Azoth Extreme keyboard itself, which has a very distinct look. It's of course RGB backlit. It's a 75% gaming keyboard with an aluminum alloy chassis and a metal frame, 8,000 hertz report rate with the polling rate booster at least, and over 1,600 hours of battery life if you use ROG's SpeedNova 2.4 GHz wireless mode. It also has an OLED screen up there in the corner that's actually a touch screen and a three-way knob to quickly adjust your volume, or you can of course program that for different system adjustments. So that is a quick look at the ROG Azoth Extreme. I'm not doing this justice by any stretch because there's a lot more features I'm not mentioning, but we have lots of parts to cover today. Our other peripherals, the ROG Harpe 2 Extreme, the gaming mouse, and this one just has a box where I'm like, how do you, oh, probably start right there. It's like, I want to be able to put these back in the boxes for the winner. Try not to destroy the boxes. It has magnets, so you go like that. Aha. Oh, look, that's like an action shot right there. The magnets are pretty strong. It's like, is your mouse erect? This mouse is so fancy it has a special cleaning guide. Accessories are a little bit simpler than the keyboard. We have a braided USB-C cable. Another one of those clips for the USB extension that I was talking about with the keyboard, and I'm realizing right now that this probably doesn't help quite as much with the keyboard except for like cable management. But with the mouse that can be very helpful if you are playing in plugged-in mode. That should help reduce some of the drag. We also have an accessory kit, some stickers, some documentation. There's gotta be a wipey cloth in here, right? My gosh. Ooh, like alcohol pads and stuff. A lot of attention to detail in here. Ah, some replacement feet with 3M stickers. And then the mouse itself, which comes in this impenetrable hard shell case. Clip at the top. There it is. I'm holding it in my hand now. Ah, there's the actual USB dongle that it comes with. Then the mouse, as you can probably tell, has a clear design so you can see through to some of the internals. So I think part of the reason ASUS went with a clear body here is you can see the detail inside. That actually is 24 karat gold plated accents and, you know, just blinginess in there. I do not believe that is the case for the actual physical buttons because that probably wouldn't be the best solution for that. But according to ASUS, this was designed in collaboration with eSports Pros and is powered by a ROG Aimpoint Pro 65K optical sensor offering up to 65,000 DPI, as well as of course that 8,000 hertz polling rate. And for that you will need to use this dongle. As you can see, it says 8K on the side. It also has optical micro switches with 100 million click lifespan. And also according to the product page, up to 70 G max acceleration, 0.7 to 2 millimeter liftoff distance, as well as track on glass technology, which means you can use this mouse with a glass trackpad. On the bottom, you can see more ASUS 20th anniversary branding, as well as DPI and pairing buttons. And then this is also a tri-mode mouse you can connect via Bluetooth, wired, or wireless using the 8K dongle. Next, we have the router, the ROG Rapture GT BE98 Pro Edition 20. Oh, thank you, Joe. Quickly getting this out of the box to take a look. Documentation and the router itself, wrapped in plastic. That is, wow. Am I gonna be able to put all these antennae back the way they were? I don't know. We will find out. It's like I said, it's like a spider. Right, so I don't cover a whole lot of routers, but I have to say that ASUS did manage to totally nail that aesthetic that they were going for the Edition 20 stuff. I'm gonna leave the plastic on this again so I can repackage it for the eventual winner, but do note that this would be a little bit more clear if I were to pull that off, for example. We've got 8 independent antennae on this router. It actually has a quad-core CPU, as well as dual 10 gigabit gaming ports. I don't necessarily equate 10 gigabit with gaming. I equate it more with like, hey, you need to move a lot of data like more quickly around your home network. But hey, a router that has 10 gigabit built in is a super nice feature for sure. But just giving you guys a quick look at the ports that are included here. And then as mentioned, this is Wi-Fi 7 capable. That is 802.11be, dual 6 gigahertz band speed up to 30,000 megabits per second, according at least to the box. And just double checking, it looks like this port here is 10 gigabit, this port here is 10 gigabit, and then these are all 2.5 gigabit. All right, getting into the components now, we have the ROG Thor 3000 watt titanium 3 power supply. Perhaps the most noteworthy thing about this power supply for me, other than trying to figure out how the box works, well, here we got the power supply access at least. This is somehow not the heaviest thing amongst all these parts that ASUS sent over. Power supplies, especially a 3000 watt 80 plus titanium rated power supply, they usually have a fair amount of heft to them. All right, we got a little card here showing some of the history of ROG power supplies. Documentation, manuals, case badge, cable ties. All right, there's the power supply unit itself, and yeah, this is a pretty hefty, this is a big boy. There you can see the 80 plus titanium rating and the rail breakdown. This power supply is of course fully modular and has not one, not two, not three, but four 12V 2x6 connectors. Now, this is pretty impractical for gaming PC use case scenario, but for running multiple GPUs for a workstation, for an AI box, something like that, then it becomes more practical, and for that you actually probably would need as much as 3000 watts of juice. It's also got a turbo switch on the back, as all power supplies should have. This power supply does have RGB as well as some displays included, and I'll give you guys a better look at those when we put the system together in the next video. But because the power supply might ship in different orientations, they actually have a cover on one side that you can peel off. Then you got pogo pins on the bottom there, so you can take that ROG display and swap it to the other side. Probably want to install it the right way though, like that. But what if your power supply is somewhere where you're not going to be able to get a good look at that display on the side? That is what these accessories are for. A USB-C extension cable and then this little device. All right, it took me a second, but I think I figured out how this stuff works. So this you can just put straight on the side, as long as you orient it the right way. If you remove that, then this is actually a little extension. So you pop that on the side of the power supply, and then you connect up the USB-C cable to that, and you route that over to this guy, and then this is just like a little stand that you can put just inside your case or even out on your desk or something like that. And then you take your OLED panel and you pop it in just like that. I left the plastic on, which is why it isn't seating quite as smoothly as it should. For units selling in the US, you're gonna get two cables, one that has a standard US plug, three-prong plug right there. Then it's got this more specialized plug to plug under the power supply side. They usually do plugs like this for higher wattage power supplies, so you don't accidentally plug in a cable that is rated for lower wattage, because those cables can melt if you try to push too much power through them. And if you're in the US and you have a 220 volt circuit, you're probably gonna have plugs on it that look more like this, with one of the prongs angled. So ASUS also provides this cable so that you can plug into one of those types of jacks if you're going to actually take advantage of the power supply's 3000 watts. Look, Newegg already shipped my CPU for this build. Not that I waited too long to do that or anything. And rounding things out, here's a look at the sleeved cables that ship with this power supply. This is the 12V 2x6 connector, for example, which has a purple on one side, so you can make sure it's seated all the way. Then you have these sort of chromy gold finish ROG cable combs that are pre-installed as well, so you can train your cables and get them looking nice and pretty. And now things are getting heavy as we unbox the RTX 5090 ROG Astral Edition 20. This is perhaps the largest graphics card I've ever seen. It's hard to say. We're looking at like I want to say a 5-slot design or something like that. Don't plan to have like too many of these in one system. It would be my first recommendation. We need to get a closer look and peel all the protective plastic off of this, but first, here are the accessories it comes with. As with most of the 20th anniversary stuff we're looking at today, you have a card showing the original OG ASUS Super Hybrid cooler technology from the first ROG graphics card in 2008. Bit more documentation and stickers in there. You get a Velcro cable strap, a USB Type-C extension for the included AMOLED display, and a 4 8-pin PCI Express power connector to 12V 2x6. Then we have some of the more unique accessories for this collector's edition graphics card, including an ASUS ROG keycap with fans that really spin, an ROG collector's edition coin, as well as this one, which I think is just a clear version. The classic ROG measuring stick, which has some of their design elements on there, as well as, you know, it's a ruler. You can use it to measure things, just not the graphics card, because the ruler's not as long as the graphics card. This is a glass plate that doesn't come installed because it has protective plastic on it, and that is going to cover the back side of the PCB. We'll pop that on in just a moment. The card has two ways to connect power. This is the more traditional, or at least traditional in the past year or two, 12V 2x6 connector, which has a protective cover over it. And flipping to this side, we actually have a cover on the edge connector, and that is for compatible ASUS motherboards that have the back to front connector with the edge connector on the motherboard for GPU power. So if you have one of those motherboards, you'll use this adapter to plug into that and connect up to the motherboard. And that would just pop on like so. So that can provide full 600 watts to the graphics card, or you can get your 600 watts via the 12V 2x6 connector here, or you can actually use both of those together, and that will increase your power limit. And I believe they have an 800 watt power profile for this graphics card. And if that makes you say, oh, 12V2x6, I don't trust it, the ASUS ROG Astral series for the 5090, which includes not this card, but anything for the ASUS ROG Astral series, actually is one of the few GPUs that includes per-pin power monitoring for this connector. So that's gonna help provide a little bit more peace of mind since this is a very expensive GPU we're talking about here. This is a GPU anti-sag support. You can actually extend it like that, and it's got a measurement on it. But it's also dual use. If you pop it all the way out, it includes a couple bits on there, so you can use it to disassemble your graphics card if you don't have a micro screwdriver on hand. And then as mentioned, we have the curved AMOLED display that pops onto the corner of the graphics card where it would be typically viewable in most PC case scenarios. This does have some protective plastic on it that I'm going to leave in place until we get the system put together though. This actually just pops onto the card's corner like that, held on by magnets. Very easy to install and uninstall. All right, so we did manage to get all the protective plastic peeled off. I think I found them all, but that is the ROG Astral Edition 20 RTX 5090. And if I didn't mention, it's got quad fans, the three you can see here on top, as well as a pass-through fan on the back next to that tempered glass panel that we added on. And if you can tell how beefy this cooler is, that's because it includes a vapor chamber for the GPU and the VRAM, as well as that full stack of fins and heat pipes, and they even went so far as to use liquid metal for the GPU cooling solution. Our motherboard is next. This is the ASUS ROG X870E CROSSHAIR Edition 20, and this motherboard has the most extensive packaging I've ever seen. In fact, the motherboard comes in a suitcase, which is kind of cool. Different packaging than I've typically seen for a motherboard. Since we're doing a build with this motherboard and most of the hardware I've showed you today, I'm gonna focus on a few of the details here, and we're gonna give you more when we actually get to the build video. Of course, another reason the box is so big was because it doesn't just come with the motherboard. It actually comes with a 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler. This is an ASUS Ryujin AIO, and you can see it's got the thermal paste pre-applied on there with an ROG logo too. And this thing is just, look at the amount of copper in this block right here. That's part of the reason the case was so heavy, but this seems like super overkill for any AM5 CPU, but that's kind of the point of this ROG lineup. And it also includes a curved AMOLED display, and it's actually got some hardware down there at the bottom so you can angle this to your liking to some degree. Again, I'll be showing this off a lot more in the build video itself. One of the cool things here, if you've ever installed an AIO before, is you actually get all your connections directly with the motherboard. You need a compatible motherboard that will match up with those pinouts, of course, but that is going to simplify things for the build process. And yes, it also comes with 3 daisy chainable fans. Onto the motherboard though, this thing comes with an insane amount of accessories, which for a motherboard that's gonna cost this much, like they better be giving you the quality motherboard add-ons, such as this M.2 expander, which is gonna give you 2 additional M.2 slots. It's called the ROG Hyper M.2 Card V3. We also have the DIMM.2, which I've been a fan of for quite some time. ASUS has included this in several of their different motherboards over the years. Basically, this is an add-on card or daughter board that sits on the right side here next to your DIMM slots and gives you a couple more M.2 slots. Now I see. I've managed to take the heat spreader off so you can see the 2 M.2 mounts underneath. The board itself though is just bonkers, and for now I'm leaving the plastic on, so do note that there's a lot of protective plastic going on here. But if you're looking at all these panels and you're like, what is going on with this motherboard? There's like these magnetically attached panels pretty much everywhere. And ASUS actually made a dedicated video on this showing you how to disassemble it. But this one, for example, seems purely decorative to me. There's no actual like contact points or thermal pads or anything like that on the bottom. And that covers up the entire bottom like third or so of the motherboard, including your PCI Express expansion slots. So if you're like, well, what about my graphics card, Paul? Well, I think ASUS intended you to remove this, possibly make it like a display piece somewhere or something like that. And then they've included this little panel here, which also has magnetic attachments. So you can pop that on the bottom and you still have that same nice clean finish with the board, and you still have access to your top slot for your graphics card. Continuing to remove the magnetic pieces, we have this frame piece right here, which kind of is like a photo frame for like the CPU socket area. Then you can also remove this panel above the I/O, and then you can remove this piece that's just above the CPU socket. And that's how you would access like your fan headers and your 8-pin supplemental CPU power connectors, that sort of thing. Then there is one more magnetic piece right here with the 20th anniversary logo. And with all those pieces removed, we can get a much better look at the all copper VRM heatsink right there. Then we have quick release mechanisms here for the top M.2 slot. If you're gonna have like a really fast Gen 5 SSD, that's where you'd wanna put that. It's actually got a 3D vapor chamber cooler. That's like the biggest M.2 heatsink I've ever seen. And then one more removable panel right here shows you all of the additional M.2 slot expansions as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the 2 on the DIMM.2. I am not sure how the PCI Express configuration is on this motherboard, but I will follow up in the build video to explain that a little bit better. But I guess this somewhat explains why this cover covers up all the PCI Express expansion slots, is because if you're really fully populating this board with M.2 storage, you actually might not need the graphics card, I suppose. But it seems like ASUS is just giving you the flexibility to populate this board however you might desire. And I think for anyone who looks at this board and says there's not enough expansion, then you probably should look at like Threadripper or something like that. Oh yeah, and we can't forget the rear I/O. There's a quick look at that panel too. Okay, we only have 2 items left. One of them is the case. Since we're gonna be focusing a lot on the case during the build, I'm gonna hold off on showing you guys some of the features on that for the next video. But we've got the monitor here, 2560 by 1440, 540 hertz refresh rate, the ROG Swift OLED PG27AQWP-G. All right, we got the monitor put together. To be clear, the ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG27AQWP has already been out for quite some time, I think like 9 months or so. This is the -G version, which is the special edition that they made for the ROG 20th anniversary special. So in terms of monitor specs, everything is pretty much the same. It is still a 27-inch, 2560 by 1440 display, and it can do up to 540 hertz refresh rate. So you need a gaming PC with a GPU that's powerful enough to hit 540 FPS at minimum. So probably you're gonna need some assistance there from DLSS or perhaps frame generation. But rounding out the specs, we have the true black glossy finish. A lot of glossy panels actually have sort of a light sheen to them. This one is much more true black. And by the way, I'm just showing the ASUS 20th anniversary video on loop right now. For fast-paced, more twitchy gameplay, you can also run it at 1920 by 1080 at up to 720 hertz refresh rate. And it also has a 0.02 millisecond response time per ASUS. But that applies to the existing versions of this monitor. The main thing that distinguishes the ROG Edition 20 version is the finish, which you can view from the back. And that is, of course, much more visible from the back. We have a clear panel covering most of the chassis. We have an ROG 20th Anniversary Edition gold-plated logo right there. There's even a timeline starting in 2006 down here and making its way up until it gets to 2026. And as we've seen with a lot of this hardware today, they're using this 06 to infinity logo, which means that the ROG brand will never die. It is functionally immortal, and its immortality has now been extended by the debut of these new products. But that is only like half of the content I have planned for this hardware. I'm going to be doing a build, as mentioned, with a lot of the stuff that you saw today. We'll be getting a closer look at the GR20 case as I go through the build process there, and I'm going to be very carefully and meticulously repacking a lot of this stuff so they can be given away to the eventual winner of our charity live stream sweepstakes, which again is taking place on Saturday, August 22nd. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. Huge thanks to ASUS for sending really a ridiculous amount of hardware over and saying okay when I was like, I think I need to give this stuff away. Extra shout out as well to Kingston for providing the memory and SSD. I'll post links to all these parts in the video description down below if you want to read up on some more of the details, and mark your calendars for the 22nd if you want to join us for our charity live stream. Closing reminder, if you'd like to help support my channel, you can get yourself some high quality merch over at paulshardware.net. Shirts, mugs, pint glasses, and more. It's all really nice stuff, and we have some new colors for the thumbscrew shirts, like the one I'm wearing. Hit the thumbs up button on your way if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you all in the next one.